with something called prediction, probability. You are always having data, from data to output. This is what we have discussed in last 1 hour, right? So now when we try to put all of these together, what is this called? This is basically called your deterministic AI. Okay. In your the umbrella term called your AI, you have two different kinds of AI. One AI is basically called your deterministic AI, and the other AI is basically called your generative AI. Okay. So deterministic AI is all about like you using your Google Maps, right? Or else like your face getting detected or your face recognition occurring. Like you have an iPhone, and when you try to show your face, your phone is getting unlocked. Okay. The same thing with your HP laptop or something like that, right? So these are all deterministic, whether this face is Mr. Aditya or not, or like Mr. So and so or not, is something which is being verified. So when such a kind of an probabilistic event is happening, that is basically called your deterministic AI. All right. And then let's say there is a use case where in which you ask and then it generates. That kind of an use case is basically called your generative AI. All right. So we'll go a little bit deep there. We'll come back to that point. So now, so far we spoke about like AI, ML, and deep learning. Okay. But for all of these things, what is the input? Data is the input, right? And data can come in 100 different ways or 1,000 different ways. It could come in the form of XLS, SQLs, simply in HTML pages or like text files or whatnot. Everything possible out there, right? So now when you say there is so much of data, this data needs to be extracted, needs to be cleaned, needs to be made ready, and then before we basically provide to your system, right? So all of these principles under what term has this been umbrella? That is here under data science. So what is data science? Data science is something which is speaking about how do you deal with data. Okay, data cleaning, data munging, data visualizing, and everything. So there is also a role in the corporate saying that data analysis, data scientists, data visualizers, like a Tableau and all these things, Power BI we try to use, right? So who are they and where are they falling under? They are basically falling under this. Okay. So what kind of what you say kind of information does an engineer who is aspiring to have that job should have? He should be basically thorough with his data science. Okay. So I simply mentioned as headings each one of them is a subject in my engineering, right? Data munging, data cleaning, visualizing, data augmentation, reprocessing, and all these things are basically part of it. All right. So yes, this is about the introduction to AI. Any questions or queries? You can unmute and speak also, or else you could also ping on the chat. You can also provide me a feedback if I am too fast, too slow, or too technical or not technical. That helps because it is kind of single day workshop, and if you give me feedback at the end, it doesn't help, you know. How data science is different from AI? Good. Okay, let's try to understand in this way. Okay, sir. For all of this data science is important. True. Let's try to start answering first question. How is data science different from AI? So now let's try to understand in this way. When we speak about AI and machine learning and deep learning, I'm speaking about deterministic output. Okay, saying that like whether a given piece of information is a face or not a face. So that is what I am trying to tell you. Okay. So and deterministic AI, I am basically more of an output driven kind of an approach. Okay, more an objective approach. But when you say about data science or data scientists, these people are someone who are responsible for visualizing and making meaningful insight from the data. Okay. When you say meaningful insight from the data, okay, which player should I choose from 29th, I think today or tomorrow? So like IPL is starting, all right. Which player should I basically put it into my dream 11? Okay. Yeah, you try to look at quite a few players. Look at like Mr. Abhishek Sharma's performance and look at how is Mr. Rohit Sharma is doing, how is like such and such players are doing. So we'll basically try to look at them and then decide, okay, fine, we will try to have this employee like this particular player name on my dream 11, right? So now you are trying to look at his stats and then try to make it. Looking at the stats and making this decision is basically where you are trying to go back and look at what you say, kind of the visualize this data, understanding meaningful insights from the data. So that is what is data sciences. What is AI? That which is basically deterministic in nature. You are objective driven. So one is subjective driven, other one is the objective driven. That is how data science and AI are different. So for all data science is important. Yeah. So they are not something which are like independent of each other. I wanted to share something called my generative AI learnings from me, right? And then we are basically trying to use a language called English, right? So there is always data. So let's try to also look at that slide. When you say you want to create your machine learning algorithm or machine learning model, always there is something called your data and data pre-processing, then choosing your algorithm, testing and validating and deployment. Okay, so this is what you are very much interested. So sometimes when you say AI engineer, you are more in this direction, your interest is more in this direction. Okay, sometimes when you say that you are an data scientist, you still do data acquisition, data pre-processing. Sometimes you also use AI algorithms. You are very much after visualization of the data. Okay, how will be my sales tomorrow? Okay, and like how much should I order for my future, right? Like let's say there is a kind of a festival season coming up, and then you are deciding how much should I fill my inventory. So all this visualization, how much profits can I predict for my next quarter? All these things are basically coming from your data science perspective. All right. So now, the basing on the goal wherever you are aligned to, for that reason, that specific things are separate. But having said that, data science is included and AI is included as part of data science. It does not. I do not deny saying that use as a data scientist